So we've come to the end of the day. I'm Adi Haramati. I'm at Georgetown University. I like to introduce myself as the renal physiologist who studies urine and does mindfulness, and let you figure out how those two are linked. So my job is to do a guided reflection with you over the next 15 minutes. Can you hear me?
No.
I don't want to sit. I've been sitting all day. I don't know about you. Thanks. So what I'm not going to do is actually a mindful reflection. What we're going to do is a reflection that will be mindful in the following way. There's a lot that happened from the minute we walked in here today. We heard really some very thought-provoking plenaries. We engaged in breakout discussions. We had a chance to talk about our own situation. We began to think about new situations. We heard a wonderful panel sharing some very important personal stories and reflections. And a number of us actually are anxious to keep talking because this is just getting started. But the truth is by the time the day ends, there's so much here you haven't processed anything yet. It's been very hard to do that. So my proposal is we're going to do the following. I'm going to give you two questions. You see one question up there. We're going to do two questions. And I'd like us to do this as a think, pair, share, which means first think for 2 or 3 minutes, and then just pair up and share it. I'm going to give you two questions. You could pick one or the other. This is the first one, which is, was there one thing you heard today that surprised you or changed your thinking on these issues? I mean, you've come here because you know something about these issues, but was there something that changed your thinking, or you looked at things a little differently that you would want to share? That's one question. Let's turn on the second question. The second question, is there anything you would do differently in your work setting as a result of what you heard today? And you get to think about one thing only. So, was there something that surprised you or change your thinking? Is there something that you would do differently tomorrow at your work setting as a result of what you heard today? Let's first think, and then in about 3 or 4 minutes, turn to someone and share either one of those. And I'll come back to you in about 6, 7 minutes, and we'll hear some examples, because I stand between you and happy hour. Think. You have about one more minute. One more minute. Okay, I'm sorry to bring the private conversations to a close, but let's see if we could reconvene and learn from each other. So if you could just wrap up the conversations. I know it's hard. We're going to take about 10 minutes. So we're going to end at 5 to 5, just so you know where we're headed. We got 10 minutes. And I'd like to invite volunteers. Let's deal with the first question. Were there things that came up that surprised you or changed your thinking about an issue? This is not a shy group. Yeah, please. Back and then you. Yeah. Just tell us who you are again, just remind us.
Sure. I'm Lemmy McNeely, and I'm with the American Speech Language Hearing Association.
Great.
And something that really, I personally enjoy change and like it a lot, and often struggle with helping those who are not as open to change as I am. And a comment around you're losing something whenever you implement something else really resonated with me, because I don't think that's the perspective I thought of, that someone was losing something. Because I always think it's change for the better. So it's like, be excited about it, right? Yeah. Well, not everybody is.
That's great. How many others felt that same reaction? Let's put your hands up in the air. Right. And my point in doing that is you'll see that we think there are a lot of things that we'll resonate with. Great, thank you. Right, change. Any other things that came up? Yes, you were next, right.
So not so much changed, but deepened my thinking, and I'm still thinking, is something, I don't know where Tracy is now, that Tracy said about whole health and understanding personal mission, purpose, and building our health around that. And so I was thinking about that in the context of another loaded term we use around, and I've heard it today several times, work-life balance, as if work is separate from life. And so I wondered if we let go of that as even something to aim for, what would be possible. So the part that deepened for me is, I mean, I feel like I really know my work colleagues, the team in which I work reasonably well. But what I'd like to take away is the idea of like, how can I better understand their personal mission or purpose and bring that more into work as a leader, as opposed to separating life and work. So I'm in deep reflection.
That's one that resonates with a lot of us. What I want to point out, not that I'm going to answer all these, but I have a comment about that specifically. Work-life balance always brings up a negative because it's always degrees of imbalance that we're talking about. So a better term might be work-life integration. Yeah. How well do we integrate? One life. Oh, I know, but we're integrating it. How many resonate with that point about our work? Yeah. Oh, we got a lot of hands there. Okay. Take another one. Another surprise, please. Just tell us who you are again.
Yeah, I'm Mark Merrick from the Commission on Accreditation of Athletic Training, and I'm at Ohio State. And I think one of the things that I found very enlightening to me, it changed my perspective on the way I thought about an issue, is when we talk about stress and burnout, we always focus on those negative aspects. And when I think about working with my staff and with the folks I work with in my association, I've always thought of myself as being someone who tries to remove those negative aspects for people. When instead, my perspective changed today, that my role really is not to try to remove their negatives, but to facilitate their joy. And to focus on, the root causes of their stress and their burnout aren't the small things that they're complaining about. And in helping them to see what are the things that lead them to a place of joy and empowerment are the things that, as we facilitate those, it's going to help them ultimately get to the place where they need to be, far more than focusing on the small details of individual problems.
Great. So focusing on the positive elements as opposed to the negative elements. Does that resonate with people? Great. So I'm going to share mine simply because this is really irritating me. And but not in an annoying way, actually in a much deeper way. And that is, I was in Mariana's breakout, and we were learning about radiology technicians. And it turns out that, guess what? 75% of radiology technicians have back pain and shoulder pain. Well, I'm just remember one of the slides. But that's how many have pain. I'm taking your slides. Well, so that's one thing, is people get sick on the job. But here's the part that actually astounded me. Students that finish and get a degree in radiation technology, or radiology technicians, 36% of them have pain when they finish their training. So let's stop and think about that. We're training someone for a profession, and a third of them are already in pain, and they haven't even started working yet. And that brings me to medical school, and I'm looking straight at Allison, so forgive me. No. We're in this together. But here's the issue. You know this very well. Medical students come to medical school better adjusted than their college match peers. And within 1 year, that changes and never comes back. Which means that our training system, our environment, is making our people sick. We have to change this. And so it's not just medical school or nursing school. Here are technicians that are in pain when they graduate. There's no room here for status quo. So that's the immediacy. Let's turn to the second question. What would you do differently? I'd like any deans in the room to identify themselves and say what they would do differently tomorrow. Because we heard that it begins at the top. You got to walk the walk. Yes, Debbie, I'm looking at you. Oh, yeah, but you could give insights. You've got lots of insights. But I'll let you think about it. Yes, please.
I did answer that. I'm Dean of Nursing. And what I do, you go through the week and I don't answer all my email. But I have this whole to-do list on the weekend. And sometimes I do send them on the weekend, but at the top in red, please do not respond to this. I'm catching up, but of course, my direct reports think they need to get back with me. So I'm going to start a new behavior and send them out Monday morning. And, even if I do catch up, because I feel stressed if I don't catch up, because I have this to-do list. So that's what I'm going to change. One thing.
Good for you. How many are also going to try to do that? Oh, we got quite a few that joined you. Great. Thank you. Where are you, Dean?
George Washington.
Oh, you're our neighbors. Good.
Sorry?
We're neighbors.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else? Yes.
Just to follow on from the previous one, really, but my background is communication, so I always like to have a slogan for everything. And I was thinking about the emailing thing, because I've just been emailing my colleagues at work, telling them what a great day I'm having, entirely forgetting that I'm 5 hours behind them, so it's like 9, 10 o'clock at night. So I'm going to try the no email thing, and my slogan for this is sending a message by not sending a message.
Good for you. You have a lot of fans in the room now. Anyone else? Yes, please.
I think I'm going to force myself, literally force myself to make time to breathe. And when you mentioned about the sign at the door to come back later, that you're breathing, and I think I'm going to show my colleagues and people that I work with that it is okay for me to come back later, because I think we also add to their stress, and I need to give them space in order to breathe and show them that it's okay to do that.
That's exactly right. When the dean followed up and said, why would that work? You just nailed it. First of all, the dean breathes. That would be a new revelation. I didn't say what they're breathing, but they're breathing. But yes, it's about giving permission. Exactly. Yes, Mariana.
Fontaine said, what can you do that you can uniquely do? And to think about
Microphone. Good.
Dory Fontaine from UVA said to examine what can each of us do that we can uniquely do. And that was a change in mindset for me, because I thought that's the perspective I ought to be looking at this from. So I'm going to look at it differently.
Great. How many resonate with that comment just now? Yeah, quite a few. We're right at the time. I think we managed to capture some of the thoughts. We've only begun to scratch the surface. But I'm going to turn it over now to Mary Jo to wrap up. Thank you all.
Well, thank you very much, Adi, for that closing. And I want to thank all of you for your active, engaged participation today. It's really been a remarkable feeling of community and camaraderie. And a couple quick announcements about tomorrow. We start a little bit earlier, so 7:30 is breakfast, 8 a.m. We'll start right in this room. And so, my encouragement as you leave this meeting is to have a lovely evening, to use email sparingly, and to indulge in spirit-filled activities, whatever those may be. Good evening.